So Puffy's at it again, and this time we have a little bit of a investigatory thing we got to do. So recently, his ex-girlfriend came forward talking about how the police had ill-treated their sons. Misa is her name, and anyway, she is complaining that the police kind of manhandled the two boys that they had together, her and Puffy, I mean, and that they were doing it simply on the merit of their skin color. Now, we're not going to tackle the skin color nonsense for just one. We're going to leave that alone in the corner and let it marinate for a bit. What we really want to talk about is the inclusion of his sons. There is a lawsuit that they said is coming down on the oldest. I don't have not seen the details to it. We're also not going to talk about that one either. That one's also going to be on the backbencher, but we are going to talk about why are his sons included? What exactly took place to the point where his sons are kind of in the loop with what's going on? Why would there even be a case? We believe it is a grooming situation. You see, I don't believe that Puff Daddy had a exclusion of his children from his activities. He had two boys, and ironically, they look and behave an awful lot like Pops. And I know that happens during proximity of the family and stuff like, but it's kind of weird that they fell into the same trap. Did they fall into it, or were they placed there by Puffy himself? You see, it takes a different level of non-man to put your sons in harm's way, much less try to bring them up in the exact same debauchery that you're participating in. These little boys, and I call them little because they're not, what would I say? They're not brought up to be adult men. They were brought up to be followers. And he put them in such a tough position because he himself had no moral compass. When you have no moral compass, what do you expect? You only raise your children with what you got. If you got nothing, they get nothing. Apparently, that's exactly what took place. Now, is the mom just trying to run interference to where you won't see that that was exactly what happened? Did she know? How could she not know? The ex girlfriend, Sean Combs, not knowing what his activities were day to day when this was happening forever ago? I can't buy that, and I don't think you should either. I think we need to ask the question as to whether or not Puff Daddy was actually trying to groom his children to take his empire over and continue the same nonsense he was doing. Was there something happening in the background where these boys were shown the ropes, taught how to do it, shown what to do, included in the parties? For all we know, those boys could have been as messed up as some of Puffy's victims. We'll never probably get to the bottom answer on that end because not many people are going to ask. They're just going to look at the outcome and say, oh, they need to go to jail just like daddy and blah, 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 blah. But this is a far reaching consequence. Now, here's a bigger picture. If he did that to his kids, there are no limits on who he would have groomed. He has no compass and he has no limit. We've even seen pictures of him with this, or video with this white girl, and he's talking about adopting her, but it didn't look like it wasn't actually an adoption. It looked like something a little more nefarious than that. But when you look at how his track record went, what we saw on the public vision of Puff Daddy was a completely different person that was handling things in the back scenes, just like with Weinstein. There's no difference. The bigger problem here is that he included blood. He included his young children in this. The consequence thereof is that there might be other people that are doing the same thing within the confines of his circle of influence. We might be seeing the end of one regime, that is the Puff Daddy version of it, but we might be actually looking at something that is far already ahead down the tracks and ahead of the FBI. Heaven alone knows how many other people that he had hands in that are doing the same thing to their kids, carrying on this so-called legacy. We won't get to the bottom. I don't believe we will. I believe we might see an arrest and he might even get out on a plea deal or he might get some time served. I don't know, but I don't think we'll ever get to the bottom of the why, the who, and the how far. They don't want that to get out there. We can only hope. We can only hope. But I believe this is a definite case of grooming. Will that be brought up on charges? Probably not, because now the kids are adults. They would have said to gone through the portion of, oh, they have their choices now, they've made the decision, blah, blah, blah. It is something to look at. It is something definitely to keep track of, and trust me, we will. because the more convoluted this case becomes and the more names get thrown in, I can guarantee you one thing: you have not heard the last of Sean Puffy Combs.